You can enter your call sign, your complete call sign, you'll see a slash. And then after that slash, you can enter 4 characters. People do anything they want with those. You may put in your name, if you happen to have a 4-letter name. You may put in your radio. You might put ID 51. You may put Aries or something like that. You can put that in there. There's another place where you can put a longer message in, and it's called Message. That's also under My Station. I think it'll be labeled Menu, My Station, and then Message. Messages. And you can enter multiple messages, like what we used to do a lot of times. We'd say Orlando Hamcation. So when you transmit over the air, your call sign and name comes up, the 4 characters after the slash, and then a message will come up and scroll across the bottom. I forget how many characters that is, but there's enough to put in your QTH or a short message like en route to Dayton or something like that. And you can turn that message on and off. You can also have multiple messages that you can select from. Also, you can store multiple call signs in there. So say you and your significant other both use the same radio. So you can go in, go Menu, My Station, call sign, and then select the one that you want to use. That's the call sign that gets transmitted. Now, someone mentioned registration. You do not have to register to use D-Star. You can get on the air immediately out of the box and talk. What does registration give you? It gives you the ability to link and unlink. Until you register, you cannot do that. Now, how do you register? We've made that a whole lot easier. There is a kind of a centralized location called Regist, R-E-G-I-S-T, .dstargateway.org. Regist.dstargateway.org.
Or registration.
Registration, either one. Use the shortcut, Regist if you want. It will first ask you to put in your call sign and a password and an email address. And then it's going to email you.
And it will suggest that the username is case sensitive.
Yes. When you put in your call sign, put it in all caps. All right, what happens after that is there's a team of people, different parts of the world, that will come in and monitor that and get messages every so often and say, hey, someone new registered, because you have to be approved. What happens then is someone goes in and looks to see if you've registered somewhere else, if you've got a valid call sign that shows up in the FCC database, or usually just on the Regist site, only U.S. or North American call signs get registered there because they're easy to look up what they are. So once you do that and you're approved, probably within a matter of an hour, anywhere from 5 minutes to 2 or 3 hours, your registration is going to get approved. When that happens, you're going to get a nice detailed email message that gives you the instructions, the final instructions, what you do. You're going to add a terminal. All you're doing is going back, logging in, and it gives you instructions. Basically, at a minimum, you check one box and hit the space bar. That's the minimum. But the email that you get back is very detailed on what you need to do. And then you're registered. And that gives you the ability, you're registered worldwide. You only register one place. And you have the ability to link and unlink pretty much on any repeater worldwide. All right, so that's the registration.
Or access it through hotspots.
Or, yeah, you have to be registered if you're going to use something like a hotspot, a DVAP, a DV dongle, one of those. You have to be registered for that. Yes?
Yeah, does that terminal go out every time you click your call sign?
Say that again.
Does that terminal information go out when
If you, basically, when you register, you want to register what we call a space terminal at a minimum, which means I'm not going to add a suffix like A, B, C, D, F, Z, anything like that. If you do, and you only have to have one. So you don't have to have a different registration suffix on there for each device that you have. So if you've got 10 radios and 4 hotspots, you still just need the call sign and a space. And then that's what shows up. Now, if you're using a hotspot or a DVAP or one of those devices, and you register another letter like WV4QDXF, then I'd have to put that in, program that into the hotspot for that to work. So don't fool with adding a bunch of letters. All you need to do is the space, and that simplifies things going forward. That answer your question? All right,
So
yes.
if you registered a while ago and had no clue what you did back then, can you go in and look at your registration?
You can log back in as long as you know where you registered, because if you registered 2 years ago, let's say, you normally registered on a repeater. And so to get to that, it's https:// the call sign of that repeater .dstargateway.org / dstar with a capital D .do.
And if you're not sure if you're registered, go to dstarinfo.com. On the kind of bottom right of the screen, it's got a little link to Am I Registered? It'll come up and it'll say User Call. You put in the call that you want to see if it's registered, submit query, and basically that'll come back with a response at that point.
So that'll check. And if you need any help, like for example, I registered, but I don't remember whether I added a terminal or not, send me an email or send it to info@dstarinfo.com and one of us will help you out there. Let's see another hand.
What's registered, the call sign or the radio?
The call sign. Yeah. One call sign for 20,000 of your own radios. That's all you need. For a while, people will think I have to have one for this hotspot, I have to have one for this mobile. No, you don't. Simplify. The only exception to that is, I'm not going to go into detail on it, if you have one of the newest generation of radios is called the ID51A Plus 2 or the 4100 Mobile, I think that's the same thing. There are some functions in there called terminal and access point. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that. That's DStar 103. And it's a feature you probably won't use. In that case, and in the instructions you'll get back from Regis, it will tell you how to add that second one if you have a plus 2. All right, any questions? Nearest repeater, great function. Because remember I said the radio comes preloaded with a database of repeaters. It's not every repeater because that database was entered in that radio at the factory and it could be 3 years old. Or maybe even longer. Have they updated it? At least 3 years old, I'd say. But it's usually got at least one repeater in major cities. So, and it even has Lawrenceville since we're a major city. Yeah, we were early, and that's why we got in on that. And somebody supplied the list over here, the icon, put in the radio. Excuse me. All right, nearest repeater. I go to Birmingham. I don't know what the repeater is. I don't know what the frequency is. I don't know anything about it, but I know there's a D-Star repeater there. So once I'm there, I've turned on GPS in the radio, and GPS will not run down your radio real fast like a lot of things do, like on your phone, your smartphone. So if GPS is on, and you'll get a little symbol up here at the top to show you, it kind of looks like a little satellite. That shows that your GPS is on. If anything else, go to the menu, GPS, internal GPS, turn it on. But I want to go to the nearest repeater. So if I've been outside where I can get GPS lock, if I stay inside my whole life, I'll never lock to a GPS satellite. Neither will your smartphone. But if I go outside, I got GPS lock. From the from screen, I press the center button again. Remember, one of those options was near repeater. The second screen you get is, depending on the radio that you have, if you have a 51A, 51A Anniversary Edition, 51A Plus, 51A Plus 2, 5100, all of those, you'll be able to select, do I want the nearest FM or FM and D-Star repeater? Do I want the nearest DV, digital, D-Star repeater only? Or do I want the nearest FM repeater? So near repeater gives me both, nearest D-Star repeater, DV, or nearest FM. Both FM and D-Star repeaters are loaded in those models. Now the early model, the 31 and the first 51 that came out don't have the capability to do FM repeaters in that list. And I'll go through that in a minute. All right, so I'm going to select the nearest repeater. I select that. I'm going to get a list. They're going to be in order of distance, closest on down the list. You'll see the distance, the direction to the repeater, the distance of the repeater. And here's that example where there's two Lawrenceville repeaters. I get the call sign and the module. So that's going to go from the closest repeater. I would then just select that, and I'm on that repeater. Now, if I go all the way across the country with what's loaded in the internal database you get from the factory, you'll still probably, I think you have most of the U.S. area in there from the factory. I'll show you how to customize that and get more detail in a minute. All right, so I've selected that. So, can you use DR mode now? Can you find the nearest repeater? Can you link and unlink? And we'll post this on the GARS site. Where can we post it, David? Where? Where can we post it?
Yeah, I'll post your presentation.
Okay, we'll get that posted so you can go back and refer to it if you want. So you can get your radio, you can open the box. I think you pretty much knew how to do that. We're good at opening new toys. Program in your call sign, and then able to select a repeater, select the nearest repeater, and then go from there, linking, unlinking. So D-Star radios come with a preloaded list. I'm going to show you how to update that list. It's real easy to do. There's an SD card, a micro SD, that goes in the slot. If you've got like a 41 or 5100, I think it is, it's a full-size SD card. But anyway, an SD card. And then you can store multiple memory configurations on that SD card. When I was traveling more, I had one centered around Atlanta, centered around Nashville, centered around Denver, Las Vegas. So when I went to those cities, I loaded that list based on the area I was in. I would just save multiple configurations. I'll show you how to do that. DStarInfo.com is where you go to update the memories in your radio. And I'm going to go through that live with you. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the website, DStarInfo.com. Just show you a couple of things here. Conferences. There's all the different ones, the Dayton ones. Nets. Here's different nets. Scroll down, you can see all kinds of different nets that are on D-Star. If you want to see reflectors, here's that list.
Can you push the magnification up? And export.
Typically, it's a Windows and the plus sign.
That's what I just did. There you go.
Go to the Explorer settings and bring it
That didn't work well. Yeah, that's pretty good right here. So there's your list. If I go down to reflector 30, you'll see 30A, Georgia Special Event, 30B, Georgia length repeaters, 30C wide area length repeaters, and D we use for data. So all over the world listed there. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up. Okay, let's find out, I want to update my SD card. Now, I can do this a couple of ways. I can import it into the free ICOM software that you can download, or I can just write it as a CSV file directly on the SD card. So if your computer's got an SD slot or you have an adapter for SD cards, you can do it directly from the computer. So what I'm going to do is go to Downloads, and it's going to give me some options. Now if I want to go, I'm going to use the repeater list, the to and the from, for a DR mode radio. I'm going to select this one. I'll be good to go back up a little. All right, so download DR mode radios. All right, so what I'm going to do, I go down here. The first thing I'm going to do is enter my location. You can enter this as a zip code. You can enter it as a city, state. You can enter it as coordinates.
You do it from the browser, increase the size. Which you're not really using. Zoom there. Yeah. There you go.
All right. All right, so I'm going to enter the location. So for day, I'm going to use Lawrenceville, and if I can type, look up location. It found it, Lawrenceville, Georgia, and it gives me even the latitude and longitude. I can put that in, by the way, as well. Next thing I'm going to do is select the radio because it's going to know how many memories I have in the radio. So I'm going to do this for my ID 51A plus. It knows I have 500 standard memories. I have a repeater list of 750. And here's the question you want. Since I can do both FM and D-Star repeaters here, I decide what percentage of FM I want. Now, by default, it's 20% FM, which means I'm going to get 80% D-Star. Think about it. There aren't as many D-Star repeaters as there are FM repeaters, right? Today. So if I get 80% D-Star repeaters, I'm going to get most of the country. And I'm going to get 20% FM. I'm going to get heart of Georgia. There are over 300 repeaters, FM repeaters in Georgia. So I'm not going to get very many out of that 750.
And one thing to realize also, which is closer, California or London? London is closer than California is. So you will generally get some London things in there because it's looking at distance.
I usually leave it at about 20% FM because I'd rather get, let me take that back. Let me do it another way. I'm going to go 80% FM, which means I'm probably going to get all of Georgia, maybe a little bit of surrounding states, and I'm going to still get quite a few D-Star repeaters because I'm going to get 20% of 750, which is going to be 150. That'll cover area. So then I download it. So what I get out of that, you'll see on your browser, whatever browser you're using, you'll get a CSV file. So I want to open that file, and it's going to open it in whatever you're using, a spreadsheet format. And here's what I've got. I've got a group number. I've got a group name. Remember when I saw repeater list and it wanted me to select the area? There's northeast, southeast, city, state, and then repeater, gateway. You don't really need to worry about this stuff, but there they are. So let's scroll on down. See, I'm in Alabama, Florida, now I'm into Georgia. here's the list for Georgia. You'll notice about 5 columns over, it's got the frequency, it's got plus or minus duplex, and it's got the location geocoded Latin long out to the right. So if I want to, now I've got the file based on the 750 closest repeaters to Lawrenceville, Georgia, and 80% of those are FM. So as I scroll down through the list, once I get through a lot of these, now I've gotten down again, these are the FM repeaters. See, you'll see some in Alabama, Georgia. Let's go down. Gee, I wonder if the Gars repeater is in there. It better be it.
Yeah, well, don't look for it, don't look for it in Lawrenceville.
Where is it? Oh, it's right. It's in Snellville. That's
Yes.
right. So there they are. I'm gonna go down to Snellville because that's where the repeater site is. There it is. So without even programming in the regular memories, I could use the nearest repeater, or I could use the repeater list, and I could find this FM repeater as well as a D-Star repeater. So I've got my list now. I'm going to save this to my desktop. So I'm just saving right now a file, and the way I do mine, this is totally personal preference, but I give it kind of a name. So I'm going to go LAW for Lawrenceville, and the date that I downloaded, 2018-09-18.
The name as it sits is a, first letter's like a I or K for ICOM or Kenwood, then it's got a date, and then a radio specification at the end of it.
All right, so I've saved this to my desktop. So I've got that file, and here it is, right here. Now, if I had, I have my adapter with me. The first thing you're going to want to do if you put an SD card in your radio is go to Menu, scroll almost all the way to the end. It says Format, and then format the SD card. Now, it's not really formatting the card. What it's doing is adding several folders. One of those folders is going to be called CSV. So I've saved this right here, and what I would do is then copy this. If I plugged in my SD card, I would drop that in the CSV folder. Okay, it's in there. Now, how do I get it into my radio? You'll go to Menu, SD card, Import, pick the file because it'll show those in that CSV folder. Select that. It'll say skip, say yes, retain that, import, yes. It'll go through, see the bar, it'll import it. Then it'll ask you to reboot the radio, which means turn it off, turn it back on. Now, in the your from file now has all those repeaters in that repeater list. You're there. You can have multiple ones. And I would show you my mine, but I don't have that, but I'll give you an example of kind of how I've got it loaded on here, where I've saved a whole bunch of them. So for my 51A plus, I've got a folder called CSV. There's all my ones. I usually have all those dumped on to my SD card. You don't need a big, don't go buy a 32 gig SD card and put in it. 4 gig will hold everything you'll ever want, because these are small CSV
I don't think
files.
these sell 4 gigs anymore.
So if I want to look at one I just did a couple of weeks ago, here's that one, and I would have selected it. Whoops, got the wrong one. That's Chattanooga. Here's one I did for Atlanta, just with Atlanta as the center. Again, I've got everything in there. So let's say I've got one for Atlanta. I know I'm going to New York. So I'll go back into the program. I'll enter the city, New York, same radio, and whatever percent FM I want, and save that, download, and save that as a CSV file. I might call it NYC 2018